Eddie just played a really long series as well. That's pretty tough actually, because you're trying your best to win these games that feel unwinnable, and then you have to be perfect in those games that you're supposed to win. That I'm sure those series can get incredibly exhausting. And now has to go into another one against a very unfavorable lineup and try and have a positive attitude. Tall task.
All right, well, tall task indeed. Eddie with a pretty nice, straightforward win. If he doesn't get to win here, he does get an opportunity to get a break before we see the lower bracket, which would be, Briarthorn's first appearance. But for now, we're going to put a pin on it as Muzzy does go for Mulligan, hits the Pharaoh Cat Questing Adventure in the backstab. For Eddie's perspective, I like to think that a lot of times you want to curve out with this warrior, so I like the Evil Quartermaster. I don't know if there's a necessity for any other card here, though.
No.
Eddie.
I really don't think so.
Oh, he's keeping the Deathwing mad aspect. Any thoughts on this, TJ?
I mean, it's the only it's like the only proactive minion that he has in his deck. So maybe he's just like, I'm gonna need this at some point. It's probably how I win. He may, in his extensive testing that he's done with these matchups, he may have just come to the conclusion that he can't beat anything unless he has a 12-12. So that's my guess. But Muzzy off to a decent start. He's going for the TJ game plan with the Rogue, which worked out well for Killen. I assume it'll work out well for Muzz.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good way to stack the pressure with the Questing Adventurer. Really make Eddie regret mulliganing away the Lord Baroff. Not that he could actually do much with it anyways. Muzzy has the opportunity to layer it as well, right? He doesn't have to actually play a big Questing Adventure at the moment. He can also save some of it for next turn. But I generally think you do want to do it as soon as possible because you just want to pressure the warrior before they have access to removal tools, right? From turn, let's say you load up next turn and they go into turn 4, they can have the opportunity to coin brawl.
This will break
you don't want that to happen.
No, and I do like that he's trying to gain as much value as he can in this early game, because one of the ways that you can lose a matchup like this is by going too all in and running out of resources, and then that's where that attrition battle will start to happen that I talked about, where sometimes the warrior can just run you out of resources and beat you in fatigue. So you do need to be kind of pacing yourself and making sure that you're always giving yourself kind of these outs to keep pressuring. And this is how he's going to do that by, building up this threat, consistently finding more threats.
That makes sense. I mean, this could be a quick game if A doesn't find a way to remove. And he does not. This is starting to get really out of control.
Just going to die?
Yes. I don't know.
Like you thought long and hard, and it's just like, no, you're right. He is.
What do you do? I don't know. This is awkward.
For Muzzy, there's honestly just not too much incentive to push too far into this one, but that makes it awkward because he can't beef up this questing anymore unless he extends with either another questing or Edwin.
Right.
Dagger up and just get him, I suppose. He's pushing 12.
It's definitely an unusual situation. I personally don't know of any kind of series of draws here that would really save Eddie outside of that brawl. And it looks like there's no way. The shield block... No.
Lord Barov?
Coin card 2 defender.
Okay.
I think
coin out card
the
2
play
defender.
here.
Hope that you have Brawl or or Lord Brav as like your next draws.
Right. That's one way I can see this working out.
You can battle rage into Lord Brav right now.
Else. Yeah, I really can't think of anything else, and I'm trying very hard here. Okay, so he ends up coining out this Evil Quartermaster, hoping that maybe he can get like a Ethereal Lackey. Okay, that Ethereal Lackey can give him a Brawl or a Coerce or something to stabilize. And Muzzy doesn't have any incentive to actually go too much beyond this.
Yeah, I wonder if he just plays like a Cartridge Defender and says go. Like it's
Right.
pretty resilient. You know, if it loses Brawl, it just means that, you know, it has something in its place. If there even is a Brawl. Yeah, and then he still gets to push a significant amount of damage. And last turn for Eddie to try and find something. Okay, Risky Skipper Armorsmith stuff.
Gets a lot of armor. Clears off a pretty good amount of the board. The trade... Oh, the Grand Mummy buffed the Cartoon Defender. Oh, that's awkward. Okay.
So there's
9,
18
10,
damage
15,
showing,
18.
right?
Right.
And 18 damage showing. Each card is another damage, and he's at 26. If Wand Thief picks up a little bit of damage, he can get there because he can also throw in a Vendetta for free.
Right.
So I guess you start with Feral Cat, and then Wand Thief, look for direct damage.
Puzzle box?
I was like, well, that's direct
He's
damage.
too far ahead.
Just
He's
just
too
in a couple
far
turns.
ahead for a puzzle box. Yeah. Okay.
Quickly.
And I guess I'm just like starting to really think that Muzzy just has to ensure that, you know, Eddie doesn't have any good board to draw with the Battle Rage, and the outs still remain the same here for Eddie. He just has to get Brawl as a top or the Ethereal Lackey.
Yeah.
Not too much more to think about.
Compare Eddie's posture this series with Eddie's posture from the last series. He's like no headphones, sitting back in his chair, whipping out cards, like, whatever.
Right.
Mine's Brawl from Ethereal Lackey. I mean, we talked about that as
Okay.
now, but...
Wow. I mean, that's big. That was the only possible out here for Eddie, and he found the Ethereal Lackey. And it started from him digging for things like that Evil Quartermaster, so well done.
Yeah. Now let's see if he can turn that into full-on stabilization,
Think.
which there's still a ways to go. Unless he's probably going to load up with a Van Cleef here.
Does he want burn?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean that it's pretty close to killing. I'm trying to think if there's any like outs or specific like ways to end the game through Dragon Torch. Finds Archmage Antonitis, which is playable next turn with all these crazy cheap things. What?
Okay. The shot bot though. Oh, he has Brawl. Never mind. I was like, you need to be careful with like Archmage Antonitis and Vendetta, because you need to ensure that the Archmage Antonitis is not the card in your hand that's activating the Vendetta, but he has Brawl, so he's fine in that regard. Oh, okay. The mulligan paying off. There's still 3
There
damage
it
left
is.
on board. He has lethal without the.
Yeah.
the Archmage.
Oh, no, the Reborn off the shot bot as well.
Oh, yeah, the
That's
Reborn.
gonna do it.
Just kind of everything. Mud's just going to show him, hey, look what I had.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is how we expect the series to go. I think the Rogue was probably the worst, maybe the worst matchup. I don't know. They're all pretty bad. But I feel like this is how a lot of the series is going to go, where Eddie may stabilize for a while. He may find outs to keep himself alive, but it just doesn't seem like he's going to be able to get into a situation where he could have a likelihood of winning the game through pressure. Everything is through attrition, and Muzzy just happens to be playing decks that are very good in that type of scenario. So we'll see if that continues. Survival Druid and Temple Mage left for Muzzy.
Yeah, that's right. And so we get to see whether or not these decks from Muzzy are just gonna like roll over the fact that Eddie has a little bit of a weaker deck list just because. But the thing is that it adds up, right? You can't just give up 5% across the board. Then you just go from even to just being significantly unfavored. So Muzzy going to Survival Druid, nothing too out of the ordinary here. Except for that Forest Warden Umu. That's a tech that he worked in, I believe, week number 4. And it was a really interesting dynamic where he brought like Forest Warden Umu to try to go for bigger swings. It's like a greedier version of Survival Druids to go over the top of even other Survival Druids.
Yeah. One of the other things that I mentioned earlier when talking to Muzzy is just the additional ramp. Muzzy thinks that you actually have to be playing wild growths on top of overgrowths because of how expensive the deck has gotten, because of how much more aligned it is on ramp. So Muzzy got very consistent ramp. He's got those big potential power swings at the top end with the Force Ward Omu. This does feel like kind of the most consistent version of Survival Druid. And it worked out for Muzzy last week because he brought it. I think it just drew 2 bans, actually, but that works out in the long run. And
sure,
against this matchup, it's almost impossible for the Quest Druid to win unless they pressure really early, and the Survival Druid doesn't draw ramp because their removal doesn't touch things in the later stages. There was a matchup. There was this matchup that happened earlier on. What is it? Yarla versus Blythe, I think, where Yarla was playing the Quest Druid and he was super far ahead, but he just couldn't close out the game because even though he had a lot of tempo, because as soon as Survival Druid minions started to come out, then it felt like he just couldn't keep up. So you do have to play for tempo. You have to win the game fast. Your healing's not going to matter after a certain point when the board's just massive. So it's a tough one. I feel like I'm just going to keep saying that throughout this entire series.
It's a tough
It's
one.
going to be. It's right. Yeah. It's just a tough life for Eddie right now.
Let's break it down. Well, it's going to be a tough one, Dan. I definitely know what you mean, though. It is one of those matchups where very quickly it can get out of hand based off of who gets out really quickly onto the board, and Muzzy already having that Guardian Animal. And yep. Eddie, I mean, he's just trying to finish his quest.
Well,
Small
quest
victories,
complete.
TJ.
Maybe the Speaker Gidra can be the MVP. Maybe he just sticks a Speaker Gidra and gets the biggest. I guess 6 is the highest spell. Just gets a 7/10 Speaker Gidra and that ends the game. I don't know.
Right. I think that's what you're kind of hoping for, like a really big swing turn like the Gidra to be able to rebound with the rush. But, like, it's not even that big. Like, how can you even call this a big Speaker Gidra? And not
well, I'm talking about in the future.
Oh,
the future
yeah.
Speaker Gidra.
Got it. The
Like
future.
he can afford to wait until he can Speaker Gidra Nourish or Hidden Oasis. Well, I mean, that's a good outcome for Eddie from the Teacher's Pet. That's not a good outcome for a card that's played from his opponent's side, though. if this overflow comes out.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the worst outcomes for Eddie because he's hoping that maybe he can drain Muzzy out of resources, but in this position, Muzzy's just getting started. He finds some of the most powerful cards, the Ysera Unleash, but I don't know if that Garden Animals actually has anything to pull right now.
I
How curious.
don't believe so, but either way,
Twilight
Muzzy
Runner,
still
yeah.
has.
There's one Twilight Runner left.
Oh yeah, there's one Twilight Runner. There's he still has some of the best yet to come. And Savage Roar is actually kind of nuts in the Druid Mirror where you get to set things up. Muzzy looks like he's wrapping his brain around if there's any other justification with these other cards.
Yeah, Savage Roar means that you can kill through Omu instead of it getting activated over and over again and you potentially running out of damage. Which could end up being a big deal, but at this point, it feels likely that he's just going to win the game without it.
Right.
So
Well, at
there's
this
the Twilight
point-
Runner, so now Guardian Animals is completely dead. But he's got Ysera
Yeah.
Unleashed. He's got Broomstick with Twilight Runner for some immediate draw as well, if he wants it,
My dream.
which he probably will at some point.
Yeah, and overall,
And-
shuffling these Dream Portals are really powerful because Eddie has to account for this threat and the next one. And he could try to just play, say, the Lucent Bark and get stuff onto the board, which looks like he is. But that's where the problem really starts to exacerbate because Muzzy can just keep setting up big boards and Eddie heals, and then Muzzy just crushes him with like a 25 damage scenario here.
Runner Broomstick. He does have a second Broomstick in the deck for portals if he needs to rush them in. But I can imagine he could part ways with the first one here, just to try and pull some portals out. I guess another question is, well, do you just play the Lake Thresher as well? Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I don't think he wants to not rush this. In case, like, double Starfall comes out and clears his board, and he doesn't get to make use of the card draw, and then is stranded.
Right.
No ability to pull portals.
Stand the
But-
time run low.
That makes sense. He does end up drawing anyways. Finds the portal that has just some more rush minions, which is nice. Although I guess he had it anyways to be Lake Thresher. Finds another Ysera. What?
Oh, and a Laughing Sister. Oh, this game's over.
Yeah. Laughing Sister, the ultimate Hearthstone victory cigar.
No matter what that dream card was, I would have said this game's over.
It does seem like this is a lineup that's going to lend itself up to these blowouts that Eddie is going for. He can deal reasonably with part of the board. He could double Starfall here, but it doesn't really address the bigger problem, which is Eddie doesn't have a way to win. He has a way to stay alive and try to survive the onslaught.
What to do?
And he's trying really hard to think about what he could do here. I do think one Starfall is nice. So you could Starfall and Oasis Surger and clear off some of the board. Okay, Eddie's just going to go for a Wrath. He's running out of time. He's going to go for a Lucent Bark Revive.
Yeah. Suppose you do need to try and be as efficient as possible with that. Oh, he draws his Wyrmrest Purifier. Right after he draws all of his, or at least a good chunk of his weapon removal. More big stuff. Still Survival of the Fittest in the bottom of the deck. Savage Roar with these two taunts. Wait, is there any way that he could Worst Warden Broomstick in Savage Roar? That'd be 9 plus 5, 14 plus 8, 20, 20. That's only 23. Not quite. Is there any way for him to Omu, Broomstick, and draw Survival of the Fittest and play it and Savage Road? No,
many
not enough mana.
contradictions.
No
Yeah.
germination nonsense. Deck. It's just a lot of paths to almost certain victory, but I'm just looking for ways that win like right now.
Yeah, I think at this point, it really doesn't matter what he did as long as he addressed the board state and set up enough power to lethal.
Yeah.
And with that Savage Roar, with a Nightmare, I mean, there's really not too much more
Oh, double
that
Starfall
can be
clears a
done
lot.
at this spot. It does clear a lot, but like, there's not too much more that Muzzy could have done to really extend onto the board here, and set himself up. So the double Starfall does represent the lack of ability to revive Lucent Bark. So Muzzy does get free reign, and now Laughing Sister can come out here. Wait, hold on. 9 plus 4 is 13, plus 5 is 18, plus Omu. No, Omu doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that's plus Savage Roar plus Nightmare.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
13. Yeah, that's exactly
the hero
21
power.
actually.
That's 21, yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking about weaving in the Omu. I was like, well, you don't get 2 hero powers, but then the hero power actually does end up dealing the extra 1. So Muzzy ends up getting there, and that is going to do it for game number 2. Druid Mirror going Muzzy's way. Muzzy just kind of steamrolling through Eddie's lineup here. Is there any hope for Eddie whatsoever, TJ?
I don't think so. I hate saying that because this honestly feels worse than Eddie's lineup versus Bomb Warrior's lineup when we're talking about the Bomb Warrior. Because, maybe he doesn't draw the tech cards, right? But even in this case, if all of Eddie's cards are at the bottom of his bad cards are at the bottom of his deck, it doesn't matter because the rest of his deck just doesn't do anything. It's specifically designed for one purpose. And, sometimes you can have hope against the Soul Demon Hunter lineups, but Muzzy doesn't even have that. So Tempo Mage is the last deck, and I just feel like Tempo Mage has to have a 99.999% chance to take a win against one of these 3 decks. I would put it at like an 80% favorite against all of them, at least. And that's me being generous.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, well, if it's that dramatic, then maybe Eddie can look forward to the nice break that he'll have between now and the lower bracket.
Yeah. It's rough. It's just rough. I said earlier that the attrition war against Warrior, that's probably his best shot.
I must protect the wild.
There's more opportunity to tempo a mage out of the game or run them out of damage with Lucent Bark if you're playing the Druid, but like Devolving Missiles just completely shuts down the whole Lucent Bark strategy.
Right.
And even though you have better ways than Survival Druid to deal with mana giants from hand, you're usually not pressuring in a meaningful way for the mage to even have to play mana giants unless they're going to capitalize on it with like Conjurer's Calling. And I don't know, it just feels like the mage should have a pretty easy time finding victories. We'll see though, if Muzzy just doesn't draw enough resources and just only draws minions, and Eddie can find removal, land a Lucent Bark, dodge the Devolving Missiles, and then keep healing up out of range of any direct damage that can come out from randomly generated spells or from Solarian Prime, then sure, you got a chance. But that seems so far-fetched.
There's a chance.
Yes, there is.
A small one, but it's a chance. All right, well, here we go. Muzzy's already flinging cards onto the board here, and pretty far ahead of the Druid. Kind of debating, I guess, if he wants to even make this trade whatsoever into the Acidic Swampos. I think he can just push the damage, make the Druid do the trades. Eddie right now is at a very passive 2 out of 4 on his quest at the moment. And so Eddie might want to just pick up a value trade here to get more, to get stuff out of his acidic swamp ooze, and then he could play the other acidic swamp ooze. Ah, it just feels so bad. Yeah, there's really not too many ways that he could try to go about this, because right now it does seem like he just has to finish the quest because he can't win without it. But Muzzy just gets all this time to ramp up. He could just play the Chinvala, for example.
Chinvala, just playing it on board, playing it on board I think is fine. I don't want to really go all in on Chinvala, because if you like Chinvala, Coin, Learn Draconic, Arcane Missiles, you have no spells in hand for Mana Cyclone, which is worrying. But if you just play Chinvala and then like Learn Draconic, then you still have Coin, Arcane Missiles, plus probably another spell next turn. All right, he's just going to go for it. I mean, I guess
like
the deck is designed to draw cheap spells, right? So this pushes damage, summons another 5/5, forces Eddie without quest complete to deal with so many things at once, which just seems like it's too difficult. Does get to play the Groundskeeper, which is a lot of effective health gain. Now completes the quest and has stabilization tools with the Oasis Surger and Starfall. That can start dealing with stuff. Oh, man.
Now it starts to really hurt, though, and he's just basically hoping that Muzzy doesn't have ways to keep his board resilient. He's hoping that like Chinvala's elementals would have to trade and that he would whiff, but he does have enough to make another 5/5 if the Wand Thief hits something reasonable. So I guess Muzzy can start off with Ray of Frost and then the Wand Thief.
Unless he wants to, yeah, I suppose, and just see, maybe not use the second part of the Ray of Frost if you. I don't know, because it does actually push through damage. Maybe you go for, like, Mana Cyclone. I don't know.
Yeah, the Mana Cyclone actually does seem reasonable here as well.
Ooh! Nailed it.
God Gamer.
And gets the Pyroblast, too!
What? I don't understand. What? Okay. I mean, now Eddie has to Oasis Surger and stabilize. Definitely can't leave up this stuff.
No.
Oh no, you can't. Okay, if you Starfall, you versus Oasis Surger. Ah, no, it's just so bad. Okay. Maybe once more, TJ, you have to just like play Hidden Oasis and hope that Muzzy has nothing. And then use it to
Actually,
recover.
kind of like Starfall on a 5/5. Muzzy just showed that he is struggling to get Chinvala procs. So leaving it up for one more turn is fine. You Starfall, then next turn you fall. No, he's too low. That's the problem, right? Because you leave 7 damage on board. But you leave more on with Oasis Surger, because Oasis Surger, if you play Oasis Surger, you have to kill 2 5/5s. You're leaving Chinvala up anyway. So you might as well take maximum power off board.
True. Yeah, I guess that does make sense.
If you're leaving Chinvala up anyway, might as well take it off. Okay, Janus Brav right after Starfall's use gets followed up with a Wand Thief to try and find some additional burn damage. Digging it.
What makes something real?
Big tempo. Janus finds... I guess okay stuff. Crystal Tag is actually not bad if you had a minion you need to rush into. 4/4 rushers are not terribly uncommon. There's Dr. Krasinov, there's Faces Corrupt, or another Pyroblast. What?
Yeah, it's probably just counterspell, but that'd be
What
funny.
is happening?
Just
I
let
don't
him come back in the game
understand.
and then just power him 2 turns in a row. Nah, that's too risky. It's too much healing in the deck. Okay, is there any way for him to survive with Oasis Surger and Wrath? Yeah, you rat the 5-3, you Oasis.
I concede.
Well,
Something for
either
Starfall, I
way,
suppose.
this is just over. And he
Yep.
concedes. Muzzy with a very easy 3-0. Pop off dab, fist pump, nods, headphones coming off, emotion surging through.
I mean, this is like the perfect shining example of why being first seed is actually impactful. Because you only have to win one match and you're through to the top 4 on Sunday. And it just so happened that the player he faced in his one match was hard targeting something that he didn't even have in his lineup. So he just gets like a 30-minute 3-0. And it's like, all right, guys, see you in top 4 on Sunday. And gets to move on. So well done to Muzz. And it's not like he's doing anything completely different, right? He's bringing the same lists week after week.